as well. And we are going to aim this spotlight at 90 degrees down. And then in the side angle view, I'm going to move this spotlight up to about here and shine it directly down on the diamond. And this diamond looks good, but it's not very detailed. And the reason why is because Cinema puts kind of like a default for refractive indexes. And if you click on options, or your render settings right here, and you go to options, there's a reflection depth, a ray trace depth, a shadow depth. So if I set this reflection depth to, let's say, just 2, and did a quick render, our diamond looks quite boring. But if I set it to, let's say, 5, you're going to see that you get a lot more reflections from the edges inside. So if I set this all the way to 10, it's going to take a little bit longer, but now you're going to see all the individual reflective pieces, and it's really going to make your diamond pop. So I would say set your reflection depth at 10. So now that we got a decently shaded and modeled diamond, let's go ahead and do the other two parts which are going to make this diamond work, which is the Khazix, and then we're going to have to do the Prism effect. Now in order to get the Khazix, they're going to emit photons from the light source, and it's going to hit this diamond and it's going to refract, based on all the reflections outward, a light pattern kind of like global illumination. But we don't have to use global illumination, we could just use Khazix and kind of sneak around a lot of rendering time right now. So in order to set up your Khazix, you need to go to your render settings, which if you click here, normally your render settings would pop out, but for this instance I'm just going to put the render settings right here so that we can look at this while we're going to work. In effect, down here is a little tab called caustics. Click that, and then go to your light source, and in the menus that you have for lights in the caustics area, turn on surface caustics. Now do a quick render, and you'll see that we got some surface caustics starting, but it's really faint, it's really light, and it's very hard to see. So we need to boost up some of this information here. So let's start with the energy. We're going to say our energy is going to be at 150. And if I do a quick render, you're going to see that it lights up a little bit more. And in strength, we're going to bump this up to about 300. And then do a render. And now our caustics are showing up big time inside of our model. Now, we got the caustics information. Now, you're going to get these kind of dotted areas with the caustics. So it's sending out, at this point in time, if you click on the light, 10,000 photons. 10,000 photons at one time are coming in from the light source, reflecting all around, and this is what we're getting. But if you try to render this at this point, it's going to look like, well, a bunch of little dots and not really a shape. But if you really want to get a firm shape, you're going to want to go somewhere in the range of 600,000 photons to 1,000,000 photons. And it's going to definitely increase your render times, but that's how you're going to get that realistic caustic look on the floor of your object. And I'm just doing a quick render right now, but you can see how now my caustics are mimicking the shape of the diamond reflections as well. So this is what we currently got with our caustic simulation. I'm going to bring the photons down in just a second, but this isn't a very accurate diamond, primarily because it's only reflecting white. Now in a real diamond, because of the refractive index and just the properties of it as a whole, it can take normal sunlight and bend it into a wavelength of colors from, you know, the dark blues and purples all the way to the bright yellows and whites. But generally, for you and I, we see red, green, and blue. Well, when we send this light, which does have the properties of red, green, and blue right here, through this diamond, it's still not able to break it up. It just was never designed to do that. But we can trick this. And here's the third part, is how to get that prism effect on your diamond. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this one light right here, and I'm going to show it to you, and then we're going to try to make a quick shortcut so you can adjust your lighting any way you want. If I take this one light and I'm just going to turn it off, I'm going to create the same exact one. I'm going to set this one green channel and the blue channel to 0. Then I'm going to copy this again, and I'm going to set this 255 channel and copy that into the green channel. And then I'm going to set this 255 channel and put that into the blue channel. It looks exactly the same. Even though we got 3 lights shooting 3 colors because they're landing on top of each other, we're getting the same amount of white colors adding together to equal white. Now here's the trick to do the prism. Go to your top view, scoot in on your light source, and we are just going to adjust these. So this is the blue light, so we'll just call this blue. And I'm going to take this blue light and I am just going to move it up a little bit. And then this green, I'm going to move this to the left. And this red light, I'm going to move to the right. Now, it'll still be bright white light, but when I render this out, now you get the prism shift. Just that slight little adjustment has given us the ability to see the colors reflect off the diamond. And since we're doing that, the diamond is now refracting and setting out color inside of it as well. So we don't want to keep adjusting all these lights all the time. So what we're going to do is do a little Expresso here to make sure that this all works together. So take all these items and let's group them. Call this color light. Right click, Cinema 4D tags, and Expresso. Now don't freak out. So in our light tag, we're going to create a user data, and this user data is going to be intensity, and we are going to use a float slider, and 0 to 100 would be perfect. And we're going to click OK. We're going to drop this color light in here. Basic properties, we're going to go down to user data, and we're going to get our intensity. And then we're going to take our blue, green, and red lights into Expresso. And then each one of these, we're going to go down to, let's see, where are the basic properties? So blue in general, there's an intensity tab, right? So we're going to go down here to general, intensity. And this intensity, which currently is at 0, we'll set to 100 and send that off to the blue channel. So if I adjust the light intensity to 50 in my blue channel, check that out, it adjusted to 50. If I set this back to 100, it'll go back to 100. So we're going to do the exact same thing with the intensity of the green and the intensity of the red. And we're just going to go ahead and connect those. And when we adjust the light intensity of this color light, it will adjust all 3 of these color intensities. Also, I'm going to set another user data tab. And we're going to call this photons. Photons. There you go. And we're going to set this to an integer. Max is going to be like 3 million, starting at 0, and we click OK. And this is going to give us a number right here. And then in the user data, we're going to add our photons, and if you hold Control and double click, you can automatically resize your Expresso. Then in light blue, we're going to go to the caustics, and there's our photons channel. So light blue, caustics, and it's called surface caustics, surface photons. There we go. Just got to make sure we find the right one. Caustics, surface photons, caustics, surface photons. And in our color intensity, or I mean, our color light, I'm going to set this to, let's say, 20,000 right now. And we're just going to test this in light blue. If I set the photons to the surface photons, we got 20,000 photons. Perfect. So now we got this one color light, which we can move any way we feel now, and it will and of course what you see right here is that light. If we can hide that real quick. Also, we're going to have to turn on the shadows. So go to General. You can use either Area or Soft. We'll just go soft ones right now, mainly because, well, we don't need super strong shadows. But the shadows do really help in selling the diamond itself. So I'm going to just want this diamond to rotate slowly along this H axis, rotate along the X axis. And one way we can do this very simply is by creating a little Expresso. So in the diamond, in Cinema 4D tags, go to your Expresso, and I know I'm losing a lot of Expresso today, but you know what? It makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and take this diamond and set this right here. And I want to affect the H axis, and I want this H to increase over time slowly, so I don't have to keyframe the rotation. So I'm going to go and add in general, this time value. And this time value, if I show this real quick with a result tag, as I play along, you're going to see that the time is going to be increasing based on the number of seconds. Well, since this is a steady amount of information, I can use this. So if I just take the time right into the global H rotation and just press play, my diamond's going to automatically rotate. But it's rotating a little bit too quickly. So here's a great little tool called Math. And inside Math, it's going to have, and I will break this result apart, and I'll show you this in just a second. Inside Math, we have a input 1 and an input 2, and then it gives us our value, either real numbers and the function add, subtract, divide, or modulo. So I'm going to take this time value, I'm going to make the time value an input, the first input. And then I'm going to right click, go to Expresso, and I'm just going to create a constant. And this constant is going to be just a constant value depending on real, and there's a whole bunch of different values you can put in here. I'm going to put in the value of, let's say, 5.